Hey Nerf Herder, I'm Addy Thomas.
I am Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Certain Point of View as we explore the Star Wars galaxy and traverse our way through it clumsily, but somehow we kind of make it through this galaxy and learn about the ways of the Force and other cultures that are part of this big galaxy. Today we're going to be talking about some more Star Wars comics in our effort, in our project to catch up on all the Star Wars comics that are out now. So we sort of stacked the odds against ourselves by not reading almost any of them and now trying to catch up on pretty much all of them, so that we can like.
Is that not the right way to do it?
No, apparently not. But I'm such a completionist that I can't just hop in the middle of the series. I'm just like, no, I can't do it. You know,
I gotta know everything.
Right, and I did a good job early on. But then I lost track, and part of it was that stupid Marvel, like the way Marvel Unlimited works, you know. But anyway,
stupid Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
So you're a big fan.
I actually miss it. I want it, but I don't like that the service doesn't offer like current.
Right.
Like I want to be able to add like, hey, give me like for $5 extra a month on top of that sub. If you could give like, let me choose like 5 different series to have currently available to me.
Okay.
So that I can if it's like a Wolverine series, the Darth Vader series, let's say Miss Marvel or something like that, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I don't know, Avengers or whatever. That way I can choose like, all right, these are the 5 I want to keep up with, and the rest is the back catalog and that 6-month delay that you have to deal with. That 6-month delay is killer.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
It really is. And if I'm already paying for the subscription, I'm kind of like, well, it's hard for me to rationalize, well, now I'm going to also subscribe to these individual series on top of it. Like, I can rationalize, all right, I'm going to subscribe to The Walking Dead.
Because I can't get it anywhere else.
Exactly. You know, on Comixology, I have my active subscription there. Right now, I have, like, active subscriptions for all the Star Wars comics. And, you know, it's like, it's
a couple bucks.
Yeah, it's a decent. It's a little bit more than a couple bucks. It's a decent chunk of money, but I enjoy those series, you know. So Anyway, I totally forgot to do all of our business stuff at the beginning. So don't forget to go to our website and check out our website, because not only do we have Certain Point of View, we have a number of different shows, including Another Pass with Case Aiken, The Scruffy Nerf Herders, a Star Wars D20 story. We've got Reignite, where our friends Matt and Mary sort of play through Mass Effect and their experiences going through it. And recently I actually really enjoyed listening to Rose Colored Pixels, the most recent episode from Fun and Games with Matt and Jeff, as they talk about trying to, like, what games are replayable for them, like what's classic and what's actually fun, like talking about like replaying GoldenEye and how tough that is, but certain games like Super Mario 64 are instantly replayable. So it's a fun exploration of that experience in gaming, especially as, you know, retro gaming is almost as important as current gaming in a lot of ways today. So you can check out all of those podcasts on our website, certainpov.com. Also, while you're there, please be sure to check out one of our favorite supporters, and that is Maria Monzone. She is my insurance agent, and, you know, sometimes it just feels like with insurance, you need that droid, like sort of like a protocol droid, that the one that speaks bocce.
Oh,
you
wow.
know?
Okay.
And Maria is that person who speaks bocce for me, because that's what insurance sounds like to me. So fortunately, she helps translate that world for me, and she's done it for a number of different policies for me: my car policy, my renter's insurance, and has also helped us get some business insurance for what we're doing here at Certain Point of View as well. And she has been an incredible help. If you're looking for insurance and for someone who's got great customer service skills and someone who's willing to find you the best deal and not just make the best sale, you can find her and her contact information on our website, certainpov.com, and just click on support. All right, so let's get into the Last Jedi comics. We've got a couple different series here, actually. So we've got the 6 issues for The Last Jedi, just the adaptation, and that just actually ended like a month or two ago, or actually maybe just a month ago. So that's why we kind of waited on doing these particular issues. So there was the 6 for the adaptation. Then there's also 3 separate other issues where we have preludes to The Last Jedi, where we have one on DJ, or called
Most Wanted.
Yep, Most Wanted. Then we also have Journey to Star Wars: The Last Jedi with on Captain Phasma, and then we also have one called The Storms of Crait. So let's actually start with. We're actually going to start with Captain Phasma. So with that one, it actually picks up at the end of Force Awakens, right as like explaining how Phasma gets out of Starkiller Base and what she does right after that. So, and this was actually a little like I had already kind of heard the summary of it. That basically she breaks out, she erases any record of her being the one to lower the shields. But then she finds someone's already seen that information, so she goes after that person and tracks them down. And so this is as Starkiller Base is falling apart, tracks this guy off to another planet, like she screws with this indigenous population and gets them pretty much wiped out, and then kills this dude and this pilot who's helping her as well, and returns to the First Order. And you just kind of get a chance to see how ruthless she is and how skilled she is. So It's from that
everything I wish that she was on screen that she's not.
Yeah, pretty much. It's cool. It's very cool to see just how cutthroat she is, and a little bit of hints to her background. There is definitely some good character to be mined from her if we get a chance to explore it more. And I looks like Resistance will get a chance to do a little bit more with her. Yeah, Kylo Ren's going to be showing up in Resistance as well. Obviously, we know Poe Dameron's going to be on it as well. And apparently Resistance is even going to be going into Force Awakens, overlapping with Force Awakens as well. But with all of that, it's really cool to see a character who's been kind of underserved and who's been definitely underserved in the movies. But if you already kind of felt
she was this generation's Boba Fett,
right? And if you already felt she was gonna be the Boba Fett of this trilogy, well, she's lived up to that. You know.
I will say this about this comic book. I was struck by the art. The artist, like, just the colors and the drawing, like, they do a lot of, like, close-up of, like, her hands and her helmet and stuff like that, and it's beautiful. That chrome armor is amazing.
It really is. It's funny because, so here's an interesting side conversation to go with. So, you know, you got Boba Fett, super cool Mandalorian armor, and you got Jango Fett, also pretty
Very
awesome,
cool,
you know.
But Mandalorian armor.
Yeah. And then you got Captain Phasma as shiny stormtrooper, basically. Which is your favorite?
Oh, that's I'm gonna eliminate. I'm gonna come to my favorite by elimination.
Okay.
Jango Fett is my least favorite.
Really?
Yes.
I can see that, but yeah.
Just because I feel like it's just we've already seen Mandalorian armor.
Sure.
Like Boba's, to me, is far more iconic and more interesting with the dent in the head that we now know where it came from, and it's all scratched up. And,
Thanks, Cad Bane.
Yeah, it's been worn. I like Boba's better than Jango. So Jango's would be in third place. But I really do. I like Jango's outfit.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's pretty cool. I like the way the helmet comes off.
Yeah.
Just detaches from the shoulders. And the nice thing is that it fits so well, the head doesn't just fall out when you lift it. Like, that's really well designed.
Oh, no, it already fell out before.
Did it?
Yeah, because when Mace Windu decapitates him, they go out.
They go separate ways.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't Boba like there with his head, you know. But you have to realize it wasn't too far away. But he just decided to go for the helmet.
Still super disturbing. Papa. Oh, so sad.
Papa, can you hear me?
Oh, great moments in streaming history that didn't make it to the stream. Which reminds me, I am doing the Extra Life thing this year too. Since we were talking about things like business, we should have put that up front too.
Oh, that's right.
November 3rd, I'm going to be streaming 24 hours to raise money for Children's Network Hospital or Children's Miracle Network Hospital through Extra Life. Check out our Facebook page.
It's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be crazy. Everybody's going to kind of pitch in. Matt's doing it as well, and you're going to be showing up and coming and going. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
Back to whose outfit I like best. I gotta say, well, I like Phasma's the best, but it is the least. like it's so flashy and showy. Like, I mean, like, you know where she is. Like, she's getting shot immediately.
Right.
She wears that out. It looks like ceremonial garb, but
yeah. Well, it's kind of like a red coat, you know?
Mm-hmm. You know, like, it's ridiculous, but I do like it the most.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of my favorite, too.
But Boba's is completely functional and awesome looking. And Yeah,
Phasma is actually my favorite looking of all the armor.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I will say coolest death, though, out of the three, I'm going to give it to Django, though.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Is she dead? Do we know?
I mean, she could, like,
she
I forgot who said it, but they said that she's kind of like Star Wars' Kenny right now.
Oh my god, you killed Phasma!
It just shows up in the next episode.
You son of a bitch! Oh, that's hilarious.
But, no, I think she's dead. I
don't think she is.
I think that's a moment for Finn. I mean, if she comes back, I won't be disappointed. But at the same time, like, I thought that was a solid character moment for Finn. Killing Phasma was sort of an important part of his arc. So
I think facing her was an important part of his arc. I would hope that she survived that. That was almost as bad as Boba's fall into the Sarlacc pit.
No, it's not that bad. It's not anywhere close as bad.
No, it's not as bad as that. Yeah. I didn't say it. I said, but it's bad. It has.
You said almost.
It is almost, frankly. It is, and the only thing that honestly that makes it better is the deleted scene.
Yes,
like the deleted scene kind of makes that far more palatable.
I think I don't know if I'd say it's bad. I think it's very tropey, and that. Yes, like, because we're so well versed in movies and in the whole Rebel Scum moment and the whole, like, even like the Marty McFly, like, sort of like the way the platform elevates and like all of that is, yes, we've seen it all before. I guess I'm also kind of like content with Star Wars working with language that already exists in film. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I get the criticism for it. I'm fine with it though. So, but yeah, I still think it was a good character moment for Finn, whereas like Boba Fett's death served nobody anything. Like,
it's a good character moment for Finn. It's a lousy character moment for her.
Yes, absolutely.
That character, it really it doesn't serve that character at all, and I think that's how
true.
I feel about with Boba's death too. Yeah. It's like, well, it's a great moment for Han and Chewie.
Well, it's a funny moment for Han and Chewie. It's not really a character moment for them in any way.
No,
so for anybody who
complains,
for anybody complaining about slapstick in The Last Jedi, remember that's in Return of the Jedi.
And Luke's force kick.
Yes. Great moments in cinema history.
Yeah. So I don't.
Yeah,
it's okay. I hope she survives. I hope we get to see more Phasma because based on this comic book, she's a badass.
Yeah, she's super.
She's
ruthless.
a character I want to see more of. There's a character that I feel like they could do a lot more with.
Yeah.
Than what they've done with. So I feel like she's really underserved. And if you end it right there, there really isn't an opportunity to do much more with her other than in Resistance.
Yeah, and it looks like we'll get more with her there, but I also don't think she's going to evolve more than sort of a menacing commander who's a savvy commander. I don't think I have a hard time seeing that she's going to evolve into anything more than just that. Who I think has depth for them to mine a little bit more is Hux. I think the dynamic between Hux and Kylo Ren is fascinating and is something that should that should be capitalized on to kind of explore more of who Hux is, especially after reading the novelization of The Last Jedi and finding out how other people feel about Hux and sort of his internal, a little bit of his internal thoughts as well, like as a character. I think he is actually terribly underserved because he's just a guy who is a punching bag for Kylo Ren and is the guy who gives like big ranty type speeches in the movies, which is fine because there's only so much you can do in those movies, and it's hard to get into some of that internal monologue in these movies. It's just going to slow the movies down. But I think in the extended universe,
Peter Jackson was directing it,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unless Peter Jackson was directing it,
6-hour opus.
Yeah. Although there's something I do really like about knowing that with Peter Jackson you're going to get that extended cut. I like it because I don't know why. Like there is something cool about like even though those 3 Hobbit movies turned out really badly, like I still felt there was something to salvage in the first 2, and the third is where it really fell apart badly for me. But there was something fun about watching those movies and then knowing, there's going to be even more on the extended cuts that I can enjoy in the comfort of my home where I can pause.
Where I can take a bathroom break.
Yes, exactly. But I actually there's something about that I kind of like. I know that's not a thing for every director, but I do actually like that in some ways, that we get to see a little bit more of the of the process that just ends up getting cut sometimes. Like I like seeing that edited in context with and the fact that they even took the time to score all that. Like that's what's really cool. Like finishing effects shots on it, scoring it, all that kind of stuff is pretty impressive. Like that says a lot about how much Warner Brothers was like, yeah, we're going to give you all the money you want.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the problem. Like it's a fine line between just self-indulgent and ridiculous for the sake of it.
Right.
And like, this really this adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
Like, like Kevin Costner 20 years ago was really big into, I'm going to make 3-hour, 4-hour movies, epic movies, and people are going to sit and watch them. And honestly, it was masturbatory.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, it didn't add, you could have cut an hour out of that story and it would have been just fine.
Yeah. I think it depends on the movie, though, because, like, Kingdom of Heaven, on the other hand,
fair,
that was a movie where, like, its theatrical cut was shit.
Yeah, it needed the extra scenes.
Yeah, like, it's a totally different movie at that point. So,
right.
Yeah, I agree with you. There are a lot of stories that can be told short. I think we're scratching some of that itch of bigger storytelling now with TV.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
So maybe there isn't that as much space for those big stories in film anymore. Evidenced by how like people are now feeling a little impatient when a movie is over 2 hours in a theater.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just. I
remember being excited that a movie was over 2 hours in a theater. I still kind of am that way, to be honest.
Yeah, 90. I'm still used to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It should only be 90 minutes, and then you're out.
Yeah. Well, I like longer. I do like 2 hours.
I do like longer, but I'm not upset if it's 90 minutes.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm like, this is gonna be a nice tight story.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm out. I don't have to worry about heading to the bathroom.
Right.
At like halfway through.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with this. Like I like a strong, heavily edited 90-minute cut movie. Like I like that. Sometimes there's just too much fat. Like there's just unneeded things in a lot of movies. Today, in my opinion. But as far as Star Wars goes, I think you're right. Like the storytelling seems to be heading towards. Like, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, you're going to have to go into the extended universe in some regard. Either the books, the comics, or the TV shows, or all three, to be able to get the full story. You're not going to get it anymore on the big screen.
Yeah.
That's not where
and it never was always on the big screen. I think people...
Well, back in the original trilogy, like, that's all there was.
Well, the comics were already coming out of that.
But nobody read the comic books.
Yeah, but, like, yes, and absolutely. But... like the novelizations were there to add a little bit more, and that was all fans had to go on for a while, and were all these extra novels that kept on filling out the universe, and for a long time, like that's what added to it. Sure, yes, but like, so here's the other thing: at that time, Star Wars was a much simpler, focused story too. It wasn't quite as expansive then.
Yeah.
You know, it became expansive once the prequels came out.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it became expansive when like the Timothy Zahn books came out.
That's true.
That's really where the extended universe really took off, is once those novelizations took off.
Yeah, people did. Yeah, because I read. I read.
I remember this too. Yeah. It was a really big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I as far as Phasma goes, I would love to see more of, like, this comic book really does a great job of presenting her personality.
Yeah.
And it does make her a menacing thing, not just a shiny object that you think might be menacing, but it actually does get into it. And again, I hope she's not dead so that we can get more of these stories from her. As she's an incredible character and thoroughly underused on film.
Yeah.
So this is a great, like, if you're interested in that character and you want to, this is a great place.
Worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely worthwhile read.
Again, the artwork alone is worth it.
And it's a good 100 pages. It's actually pretty substantial.
It's real thick. Yeah.
So, you know who I could use less of?
Who's that?
DJ. He was not my most wanted. You know what's fun is I actually really enjoyed him in the movie. I was one of the few that did, even with his little gimmick and everything. I didn't need any more of him. This leads you up to like what got him to where he is, like to him basically being in the prison and him kind of playing the different tables in Canto Bight, which, like, I could see that there is sort of the potential for an interesting story there,
but it wasn't in this book.
it just never caught my attention in any way. I think it's a combination of the character didn't have enough of just never really grabbed me. I was never really, I don't know. The story was already a little too convoluted. Like, they try to do a little, usual suspects cute in there.
Which is ironic.
Yeah. It was cool in concept when I stepped back from it, but the actual experience of it just didn't work as well for me.
The problem with DJ is he has the potential to be an interesting character. Again, this is a character who might be cool, but we don't know enough about him to be cool. And I feel like in this one, kind of like what you said, like they were trying to do something different and cute with it.
Yeah.
And it fell flat for me too.
Well, and the thing is, for me, he serves his purpose very well in the movie because he's a plot device, and he's not really a character,
right?
Because he's the last sort of vestige of what Finn wanted to be. You know, a guy who just wasn't involved in this conflict, a guy who's totally neutral, and he's there for Finn to see what neutral is in this conflict. That neutral
plays both sides.
Plays both sides, but is bad. Ultimately, is bad.
It's not a force for good.
Yeah, and is neutral is letting bad things happen ultimately in this world. So I think, at least that's what I think the story was told for Finn as a character. So again, like, there's that evolution for Finn deciding to, like, become part of the Resistance. This was that plot device, essentially. And I think it was effective. Do
you think we'll see more of that character in the movie?
No.
In the next movie?
I think DJ's
done. He had his spot and
that's
it?
I think so. I think there's other things to do. They've got other things to accomplish in this movie at this point. You know, I mean, sure, could they bring him back and Finn crosses paths with him and I don't know, has something to say, but, like, what does it really serve at this point? You know, if JJ's got something cool, great, but I won't be disappointed if he doesn't show up either, you know. Like, I don't need them to
wrap up everybody's arc in this last movie.
Exactly. Like, you know, I didn't need to see Walrus Man again, you know, even though he popped up in Rogue One, you know.
Ponda Baba?
Yeah, Ponda Baba. I didn't need all of that. Like, as much as I enjoyed
after a while it gets a little fan servicey.
Yeah, and the thing is the universe is big. You've got all these new cast members, like you've got there's a great list of all the people that they've cast. From Matt Smith and oh my God, why am I forgetting her name? Felicity
Jones?
No. Coming up in episode 9. She was in The Americans. And
Kerry Russell.
Yes, Kerry Russell. They've got all these new characters.
Right.
Who knows if they're Resistance or First Order? But I think this movie is going to have to really focus in on the First Order and Resistance conflict. So what shape that takes? It looks like we're gonna get Lando.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thanks,
I'm
Weight Watchers.
Right. So yeah, I'm fine with if we don't see DJ again.
I'm fine if we don't see DJ again either. I mean, yeah. I would like to see more about him and what happens to him after he makes that big payday.
Yeah.
And what he does with that.
And that's where a comic would actually be more
comic books or books or something like that,
I agree with that.
Would be interesting. I don't need it on the big screen. I think you're right. It doesn't make sense unless that money is going somehow feeds the new Resistance or something like that. That's what.
But that I don't feel like that hurts that point in a way. That hurts who that character is in a way. If somehow, unless it's out of his control, but if he ends up just donating the money, it's just whoa.
What if he donates, but what if we open the movie with
he's making a deal with them,
or Finn and Poe hunt him down and steal the money from him?
Oh, that's interesting. Or if they're forced to make a deal with him and they don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of capacity where I think that works.
He kind of takes on a Jabba-esque
right
position in the movie of being this underworld guy that they got to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah, that could work for me.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
But if not, I would like to see something done with that character in a book or something like that. This story I didn't want to hear, how he got in the cell.
Yeah,
not interesting to me at all.
I knew he was there to move the plot forward. I didn't need anything more.
I didn't need to move the plot backwards to find that out.
Exactly.
Let's move on from this comic book because clearly neither one of us are particularly enthralled with it.
This next one though, I absolutely enjoyed. I loved it. The Storms of Crait.
Okay.
I loved seeing, it's original trilogy era, so, obviously it's characters that you love. It's right after Yavin. So you're dealing with the rebellion trying to find a new base, and Crait is one of the places that they look at potentially being a new spot for them. It's funny, Luke is kind of complaining about he doesn't want to be this guy moving around equipment, because if he wanted to do that, he could have stayed on Tatooine. But then he sort of realizes his value in that background and in that experience that he has, because he's able to figure out that there's going to be a salt storm that comes, that they would basically be trapped inside that base and that they wouldn't be able to get out for several months or something like that. You also have a character where Leia is dealing with someone that her father sort of believed in, but had a troubled past and ends up betraying them to the Empire. And you have them cross paths with what's the name of the squad? It's a squad that we've seen in the main Star Wars comic that is super badass, a super badass stormtrooper squad. One of the guys who happens to have a lightsaber as well. It is really cool. Wedge has a super badass moment where he kills a bunch of these guys. So there was some really good balance of character moments and some action. Leia does what was weird. I don't know how I feel about this. So the moment in Return of the Jedi where when Leia and Han are on Endor, and it's during the fight with the whole when there's a stormtrooper that's cornered them, and they do the whole one's on the ground and one leans in, they turn around and the gun, they do that moment.
Yes.
And it was there's something weird about I don't need that moment to have happened before.
On every single planet they go to.
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
This gimmick they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice that it was in the moment.
Yes.
On Endor, because it Han's reaction is genuinely like, oh, that like you're such a badass, Leia, in that moment. So and there was like some genuine surprise there. So it's almost a little weird.
It's fan servicey.
Yeah,
it's fan service. Let's call it what it is. It's fan servicey, and it's not not in the good way.
Yeah,
it's not in the good way. I here's what I liked about this story is like the fact that Luke and Leia have history with this planet.
Yes.
And
Leia does, yeah.
Well, Luke is there too.
Oh, that's right. Right, you're talking about when it comes to The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, and they have this moment on Crait. I thought it was really like that. That
sense of history makes sense because they also say it's an abandoned, rebel base,
right?
Type of thing. So yeah, that works. The sense of history is what's cool because that's something that Star Wars hasn't always done well.
Yes,
is a sense of history. That's something that Lord of the Rings does insanely well.
Yeah. Everything feels super lived in, whereas Star Wars feels worn down, but not necessarily lived in.
Right. Like, unless you, like, delve deep into it, like, if you're following Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter, that's when you can really sometimes appreciate, like, those, like, oh, this prop is something that was here and this happens, like, when you get into something like the Darksaber or something like that. But, like, it's always for significant artifact. It's not like the way this, like, Star of Erendil connects to Frodo in the moment that he needs, and it connects to Erendil, who's sort of like the Noah of Middle Earth, and like just the way that connects in sort of this sort of cosmic way is very fascinating. Sometimes Star Wars misses out on a little bit of that. I guess really, honestly, Anakin's saber is really the only thing that really is that.
Kind of ties everything together. Yeah, between the three trilogies, that is sort of it. That one.
Although what's funny is that
and the
saber,
Falcon.
The Falcon is Falcon is that they've turned the dice into that.
Yes,
which I do like. That's one thing which is something I really like about the Disney Star Wars era is they've made the dice significant. Like that was never significant before, but now it's like, it's provided this like it's this artifact with some emotional significance, and that's a really cool through line. Watching Solo, like that really worked for me. I'm really hoping that we get a chance to see the third act of like Kira and Han's relationship.
I'm afraid we may not get that though.
It may I have a feeling that'll end up in comic form.
I think so.
But unless they find a back way to do it by doing the Boba Fett movie somehow, Bounty Hunters movie, or Darth Maul.
with them saying like we're going to cut back the slate and just do a movie every other year.
They haven't necessarily said that. They said they're going to be a little bit more cautious. I don't know if they'll we'll see. Well, I'm not totally. I don't totally believe them that they're going to slow down.
Yeah.
But I think they do need some time to earn trust with the audience. They haven't done that yet. Ultimately, I think with people like you and me who love Star Wars as much as we do,
we'll go no matter what.
Yeah, and there's like we find a lot of like we're willing to see what different people add to it, whereas Marvel needed some time to re-earn people's trust. Even after like Iron Man was a great start, but like there's some very, very slight missteps along the way, and recent memories include movies like Ben Affleck's Daredevil and Elektra, and
well, that's going on like 10, 15 years now.
No, but like it took a while. It took
a while to get past that.
Like you had to get to Avengers before people were really like, you know what, this MCU thing is something. It's
really gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Well, it was because we had never we've seen standalone superhero movies before,
right?
And it was interesting up to Avengers of like having little cameos here and there.
Right.
Like that was interesting. But then when we actually saw everybody all together, I think that's what made it different.
Well, the funny thing was at that time, though, I feel like there was actually a little bit more confidence in DC than in Marvel at that point.
For sure. Yeah,
just because of the strength of Nolan.
Of Nolan's Batman.
Yeah. And so there were just a couple, like, even though they weren't connected, like, you had X3, Spider-Man 3, for two trilogies that started off very strong and sort of ended with a little bit of a whimper critically, So, yeah, I think in the same way Star Wars is going to have to, just needs to re-earn that. We'll see how they do with Episode 9. And I think people are going to look back on it a little bit more fondly once Episode 9 comes out.
For sure.
But we'll see how.
I think it'll wash a lot of the bad taste out that the fanboys had.
Yeah.
Over some of the stuff in The Last Jedi, and
they'll see the story in context.
They'll see the complete story.
Exactly.
People are very rarely happy in the middle of a book when things are not going the way they think they should for their protagonist.
Right.
That
Yeah.
And if you just stop the story there, of course, it feels awful.
Exactly.
So
finally, we had the actual adaptation of The Last Jedi itself, which was, I actually liked what this offered in some ways.
Okay.
This does an amazing job with Luke's internal monologue.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was accomplished well by the movie and is sort of working sort of like in shades of like, hey, you've already seen this movie, so we don't need to like go too into it.
We don't have to spill into it or too much, yeah.
Yeah, like we don't even need to give you every single line that was in the movie. Here's just enough for you to know. Okay, this is let's. But Luke's internal monologue was the best thing that they could have added. Like sort of his, and some of this was in the novelization as well. The way he detaches himself from the Force, but even like what he's thinking as he's dealing with Rey, I think does so much for that story.
Yeah, I agree.
And while you can interpret that from the subtext of the movie,
it's not explicit.
Yeah,
it's not explicit, and obviously based on fan reaction, it's not even obvious enough.
Well, that's an issue with like reading comprehension.
Oh, I agree.
I think that's a problem. Like when you consider how many people are reading USA Today, and that USA Today has to be on a 5th grade level, I think that says something more about literature standards in America more than
It absolutely does, but also like there is an onus, and when you're talking about communication, and this is film is a form of communication.
I just became an East Coast elitist.
You really did. You really did. We're gonna have a talk after this. But there is an onus when you're communicating to make sure that your message is understood and heard.
It's understanding your audience, which I agree. Yeah,
you and I didn't seem to have a problem picking up on the subtext of these films. Yeah. Some people we know did, and that's fine. Or maybe it's just misinterpreted. There's a lots of reasons why that.
Well, that's the cool thing about storytelling.
Yes,
though ultimately it is. Some people are going to watch Thor Ragnarok and they're going to see fun stuff, and there is lots of fun stuff. But then when you sometimes mine it for the depth of the story of like two brothers and their relationship and sort of like this guy who's evolving from like pushing away his kingdom to now accepting that responsibility, like there's some crazy cool stuff in that movie.
Yeah.
I just watched earlier today a deep dive into Green Lantern, and I was like, holy crap, this movie's a lot better than I thought it was. It's still bad
but it's not the worst movie ever made.
Exactly.
It was a very ambitious film.
Yeah, I'm really eager. I know I don't know when we're releasing it, but we are going to be doing another past episode on Case's show for Green Lantern very soon. So that's something to keep an eye out for, because I think we'll get into very interesting conversations with that. I'm actually looking forward to rewatching the movie. I'm not going to buy it on Amazon Prime. But
it's funny because I think I'm like the most positive person about this movie, where I didn't dislike this movie at all.
Yeah,
like I put it on the same par. I put it on par with like a Daredevil, Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Yeah,
like I was like, man, it's got major flaws for sure.
I think the movie
Parallax is an awful villain.
Yeah,
start with.
Yes and no. Yes, I agree with to start with.
Yes.
But there's some really cool, ambitious stuff. This is not a Green Lantern episode. You guys can check that out.
Rabbit holes.
Yeah, I can very easily go down this path, and we'll be here for 4 hours. Because I still remember coming out of that movie, and I was like, that wasn't so bad. And that was one of those movies as I thought about it more and more.
That was awful.
Yeah, not so good.
I never got to the it was awful part. I've always been like, it wasn't great.
And not to get too deep into the rabbit hole, the thing about that movie is like I feel like it personally hurts a whole lot more.
Such a huge Lantern fan,
but actually what it ended up doing to cancel the animated series.
Oh yeah,
that
was
the
wrong.
Repercussions of that movie are worse than the movie itself.
Yeah, that was awful.
Especially because there were plans for a trilogy, and there was potential for some really cool stuff to come out of that if they were able to kind of like force their way through it. But I think it was a victim of very awkward timing in sort of the evolution of superhero movies. We'll get into that though in the future though. Coming back around to Last Jedi, you have any other thoughts for these comics?
This artwork in this one.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the Crait one. I'm getting them all confused in my head because we're getting so many. But the artwork on the Crait one was really weird.
Yeah, it was too close to the actors.
At some point, it was like photorealism where they just it's like they dropped a. You know how you have
it's kind of like Alex Ross art. You know,
it felt like they like it was like one of those filter, like an Instagram filter.
Yes, and they just had everyone.
Yeah, they took pictures like frames from movies or something, and then they just like cut and pasted it into the into the frame. It was really weird. It was really like some of the frames are really off-putting.
Yeah, it looked very much like a version of an Alex Ross style art, and I'm not particularly a fan of that style. Yeah,
I'm sure he's a lovely man. Yeah, he's a talented guy. It's just
and I know people who are huge fans of him.
Yeah, it's not my style.
Yeah, so it just doesn't work as well for me. And depending on the story, but this one it didn't work as well for me. So I did like the one for the actual Last Jedi adaptation because I like sort of impressions of what the character looks like rather than like trying to come up
full
with,
on
like,
detail.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I can kind of like one of my favorite artists is Brian Kessinger, and I'm sure you've seen some of his art, like especially with the Disney Star Wars movies, because he's the guy who does like the Calvin and Hobbes version of Kylo Ren, and with Leia and Han and all of that. So
I love those.
Yeah, like he does.
You have to be dead inside not to like that,
right? So I like when people have their own style and they kind of integrate it with it a little bit. Like Scotty Young is a guy that I really like as well. He's
super talented.
Yeah, he did a great. I think it was Rocket Raccoon. He did like a 6-issue arc on.
Yeah, I love that.
Fun.
I love that one. That was fun. It was really cool looking.
Yeah.
So here's my question about the Last Jedi roundup. Like, and you were talking about Luke's inner monologue and how you felt like that really helped. And we were just talking about like the Peter Jackson version of filmmaking.
Yes.
How cool would it have been if Rian Johnson had made a Last Jedi version with all that inner monologue, a la the original? What's the movie that they just remade with Harrison Ford and
Blade Runner?
Blade Runner, yeah. Like the original Blade Runner didn't have the monologue.
Right.
And you watch that movie and you're just like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm not sure. Is there a plot? What's happening here? Because there's almost no dialogue.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. And people were so confused by it that they put the dialogue over top of it.
Yeah.
And that movie works so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, So here's the only issue I have with that is it does substantially change the viewpoint of the movie. Because here's the thing, like the new characters are the main characters. You know, Rey and Poe and Finn and Kylo Ren are the main characters for this series. Right. So giving you Luke's inner monologue now. So you have a slightly different experience. I think it's an interesting thought, though. So you make Rey more of a passive character at that point, which maybe you do, maybe you don't. But at the very least, you're experiencing both of their perspectives as opposed to experiencing Rey's frustration. You have more sympathy for Luke and his thought process and why he feels the way he does, and his failings as a master, and his conflict about how he feels about the Jedi Order. Because that's one thing. People talk about well, why did he want to burn down the books? But then he didn't want to burn down the books. And then Yoda burns down the books. But then the books are with Rey, and it's funny if you read it finally jumped out to me. I don't know why it never registered with me. Up until reading this comic today on the train, but when Yoda says she has what she needs, right? The way he phrases it is he's never saying some people have interpreted it as oh, she already has what she needs, because
she's learned enough.
Yeah. But no, he's actually saying that she has
the books.
Yeah, he's very he totally Obi-Wan's it from a certain point of view. He totally takes the cue from Obi-Wan on that one, But yeah, like it's like you read that. Like you when you watch it, yes, it hits you as, oh, he's saying that she's already prepared enough.
We don't need the Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't need the Jedi way anymore.
Yeah.
She can
make
something new.
Yeah, but he's saying she has the books, but you don't need it anymore.
Right.
Is essentially, and that's how I interpreted it.
Right.
But like he is sort of like purposefully vague.
Yeah.
But
I think like that's an appropriate. Like I like that response because like. Let's go deeper.
Because thematically, it is important.
It is important, but it also like going deeper into that and like looking at it as a religion. Oftentimes when you're new to a religion, this happens a lot with new Christians who become Christians later in life, like as adults, like. They become they start off very rule oriented.
Yeah.
And when you're. And that's like Catholic school and like the school systems that you and I grew up in. Like it's very rigid and strict and very dogmatic in your growth.
Right.
In that. And it's a process that you're supposed to go through and then break free from.
Right.
And Richard Rohr talks a lot about this
in
his teachings and stuff like that. When I really like that. And the idea of like, okay, like I needed that structure when I was new and young and, dumb and, likely to make a lot of mistakes. But then now as I've matured and understanding, I don't need that much. I don't need all of that structure anymore. And I think that's a possible interpretation for what Rian Johnson was trying to say here for Luke.
Yeah.
Was
in terms of the value of that scripture.
Yes, he didn't need those books anymore.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't going to help him do what he needed to do for the next 10 minutes of the movie.
Right.
And he didn't. But Rey does.
Yeah.
Rey needs that structure. And because that's what she's been asking for this entire time. I need a teacher.
Yeah.
I need somebody to show me my place in the galaxy.
And while she doesn't necessarily need the teacher, she does need the
she needs the structure.
Needs the content.
She needs the structure to
exactly.
like, okay, here's how you do this. Here's how here's how this is supposed to work.
Right.
It's like any art form of like, the idea of like, well, you learn all the rules
and
then you
them.
break them all, but you can't break them until you know why those rules are there.
Right.
And the value of
That's
them.
a good comparison. I never thought about it that way. I like that. So, yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up. That's about as good as it's going to get.
Oh, but yeah, no, I will say I do really appreciate Luke's monologue on this.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's great. I think it's great.
But coming back to what you were saying about like an edit of a movie with that, I do think it would do disservice to experiencing Rey's emotions, experiencing the frustration. Because here's the thing: the other thing that it takes away is like you like when you read the comic, you already know the result of the Rashomon style sequence. You already know like, okay, what happened between Kylo Ren and Luke.
Right.
So that reveal needs Luke to be cold and unhelpful. So if you have some sympathy for Luke there, I think it undercuts those reveals. So I don't think it would work as well to add that monologue into a movie version, into the like a director's cut or something.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I would say like to anybody who is still struggles with The Last Jedi and doesn't
get over it.
Well, no, not get
sorry.
over it. A little bit, but I would suggest you read the novelization and you read this comic book.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see.
Because and I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are because. It does. Both of those do go much deeper into Luke and his thought process and what's happening, and Leia, in the books.
I think it helps you. I think it helps you with the Luke stuff. I don't know if it helps you with the other stuff though, that people sometimes have issues with. Holdo.
Oh, I think it does.
You think so?
I definitely think it does.
Yeah.
I think they go into. I think in the novelization they do a good job of more explaining Holdo's perspective of Poe and why she treats him the way she treats him.
Yeah.
And justifies it. And the loss of Akbar is felt more significantly in the book, I think, by
That's
Leia
true.
and stuff like that. Like all the little like nitpicky things that people are like they're ruining my Star Wars for.
Yeah.
I think is addressed in these two mediums.
And that especially if you felt Akbar was underserved in the movie, you will love this comic because they actually see that the torpedoes are heading for them, and he gets a moment to say it was an honor serving with you before they...
And that's in the book, too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's in the book, too.
Yeah. So if any of you... And you know me, I'm one of the biggest Admiral Akbar fans out there. Mm-hmm. And I've always been okay with how they handled that.
I think it's great. I almost got into a fight with somebody online this past week about Akbar and Holdo, and that they should have been. They felt like they should have been reversed, and I'm like, no, that's war. Like, people are gonna die. It's indiscriminate. Your heroes don't always get to go out on on a great moment. Like, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and that's a good thing. Like, if everybody, like, again, then it becomes super fan servicey, and it's just fan flick.
If you study, it's funny because, like, especially with Lucas being a good student of history, I like that Rian Johnson did this kind of a similar thing here, because, like, you read. Like, if you're familiar with, like, military history, like, you think about some of these great generals who died in some of the worst ways.
Sherman got shot in the back by his own man.
Well, no, Stonewall Jackson.
Stonewall Jackson.
That's exactly who I was going to.
Yes, exactly.
But the thing is, he didn't die from the wound. He died from, I think it was pneumonia, ultimately, who got him because the medicine was so bad at the time. So, like, you have, like, all these kind of things. Yeah. Like, it's so. It's so
it happens
funny
all the time, and it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, people have their fan favorites, and they feel very strongly about it. Obviously, we feel very strongly about it too because we're doing a podcast about it. But
well, and addressing the Holdo thing, like, it's have people never seen a story where you have someone who has taken a certain place, or if you've never been at a workplace where you have a boss you just don't understand their perspective,
and they don't understand yours.
Yes,
and
you have communication issues,
and you get fired.
Yeah, like it's funny
happens.
Like I think it's so funny. Like, people's frustration is like, well, she should have just told him, and it's like, well, have you never been in a situation where that's an issue? Like, this is what happens in real life. This isn't unrealistic.
No, not in the least. Yeah. Not in the least. Like, and we work in a communication field, and
right?
Communication is like the hardest part of it.
Yeah, exactly. People are always working in, like, silos.
Yeah, and that's how people are. It doesn't make sense to me that people were so upset about that, but whatever. Yeah, I'm over it.
I know. I don't know if I am yet.
I am. I'm over it. I just don't engage anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I'll talk to somebody face to face and talk to them about it. I refuse to have any kind of debate online anymore. Yeah. I just refuse. It's just not worth it to me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, well, you can find out, you can listen to all of our other podcasts. Again, they're on our website, certainpov.com. Check out all of that fun stuff. And hopefully we got some interesting new news for sort of some other projects that Ben and I are going to be doing that are related to a certain point of view in Star Wars, and maybe some other content that's coming out in the near future. You can check out all of those updates, though, on our website. Just keep an eye on it, certainpov.com. And until next time, stay scruffy, my nerf herder.